Hey guys, this is Joe Romero from the Thales Company. I'm a sales engineer out of Southern California. Wanted to kind of just give a high-level overview today of our data protection on demand service, which is essentially HSM as a service. So instead of having an on-prem HSM, we are offering you a cloud HSM offering. And the idea behind today's demo is kind of, the biggest thing right now is PKI, right? So if you look at the industry standards, there's a lot of different certificate authorities out there. Today I'm going to kind of give you just a quick demo, high level of Microsoft Active Directory Certificate Services and kind of show you how the public-private key pair, when it's created in the HSM boundary instead of in Microsoft software, right? So the whole idea is that separation role of keeping your keys out of software and not housing those private public key pairs within your Microsoft software. So pretty cool. If you go to Azure, AWS, we're similar to that. We have a cloud offering. It's simple service tiles that you create and you allow that HSM service to be consumed. So let me go ahead and show you what the portal looks like. I'm going to log in with my ID right here. It's going to be a secondary authentication of once I logged in. So let me go grab my Google Authenticator PIN code real fast. Okay, so let's just go up here for starters. We got my services right here. There's a lot of different ways you can think about this. Think about, if you want to actually, from an application standpoint, what do you have? Do you have Oracle? Do you have CyberArk? Do you have Microsoft Active Directory Certificate Services? Are you doing code signing? Really think of an HSM as it needs an application server to talk to it, right? So the application server is reaching out to the HSM and it's creating key material. It's doing signing, it's verifying, so on and so forth. So the HSM is essentially a black box there with a partition to protect that key material. So with Microsoft Active Directory Certificate Services, you physically have Microsoft and their software that lives on a server of some sort, whether it's Windows 2012, 2016, 2019, and you're creating that key material and it's housed within a key store on the server itself. So essentially, somebody can hack that server, get the public-private key pair, and at that point, your certificates are at risk, right? So consider your environment already compromised at that standpoint. So that's kind of an old school way of thinking. The new school way of thinking is separation of duties, separation of key material. How do I physically get those keys in a secure boundary off host, right? So very simple. Get keys off host in a secure boundary. And how do you accomplish that? HSM, hardware security modules. And fundamentally, there's two things right now, right? You have the cloud, huge cloud environments. Everybody's moved to the cloud. Nobody wants on-prem. You got staff that you gotta have, and depending on the resources of the data center, power consumption, moving those application offloads to the cloud is a big thing now, right? It's easier to consume. The SLAs that these cloud providers are offering, you don't have to worry about your HA, your redundancy. Let somebody else take care of it for you. So Thales, we've been in the HSM business for over 30 years. So we said, hey, listen, we're the most trusted HSM vendor out there. Let us give you the cloud service. You can put your applications in Azure, AWS, Google, but let us be the HSM. We've been in the HSM business. We're the leader in the HSM business. Let us build a cloud environment for HSMs, and then you can consume our HSM service. So that's essentially what we've done. We're providing an HSM service in the cloud. So if we go over here to My Services, My Services, when you create a service, you're essentially creating a partition on a HSM. So when you create that service, behind the scenes, or if you want to say under the covers, under the hood, whatever terminology you like to use, you are essentially creating a partition on a HSM. So if you look at this service that I've created, it's called Microsoft Active Directory Certificate Services. I essentially created this service, I gave it a name, and then it slices me up a partition on an HSM. And this is the physical partition serial number that lives on our cloud HSM service. Underneath that, you create clients. Those service clients is the software that's going to be bundled up that you're going to go out and install on your Microsoft server. This is going to allow your certificate authority to talk to this partition. So essentially, I'm just creating a zip file, per se, of all the software, which is the physical libraries and such that needs to talk back to the HSM service to make that connection. So here's my clients. I'm physically going to go to my Microsoft server, put that software there so I can make that physical connection. So with that said, what we can do essentially is I'm going to shrink this little window down. I'm going to go to my VM. Alrighty. So if I go, bring up, I created a folder called DPOD, right? Just simple name convention, data protection on demand. That's what it stands for. This is my physical Microsoft server where my certificate authority is. So I just put that software bundle, right? So if you remember the portal that I was on, I created a client zip file. Here's the physical software. It's installed on my Active Directory Certificate Services server. So let's go ahead and bring up a command prompt. Let's do a little listing, directory listing here. So there's a command called lunacm.exe. So lunacm is physically going to make the connection. It's going to make the call out to the HSM service. So assuming you installed the software, the install was successful, this is going to physically make the connection. So let's see what it does. Okay, great. So now my Active Directory Certificate Services server can physically make a connection and talk to that partition on the HSM. So this is telling me my server is now talking to the Cloud HSM service, and this is a serial number partition that I have been assigned. So if you actually go ahead and go into this, what we'll do real fast. So I'm going to shrink this down for a second. Bring up another window fast. All right, let's go into the KSP folder here. All right, so if we go back, we see we made a connection to that physical partition on the HSM. We want to make sure our KSP has been configured to talk to that partition. So let's type in KSP config.exe. Double click on Register Review Security Library. This is the physical library setting of our data protection on demand service. So C dpod setup cryptoki.dll. So if we go back to the other window real fast, I'll just exit out of this real fast. I'll do a directory listing. See that cryptoki.dll? That's the library path we got to enter into the KSP. So when we execute that KSP config, we want to put in that full C dpod setup -client cryptoki.dll so it can physically talk to the correct library. So as you can see, that correct pathing has been put there. So all you're going to do is put that library path there. Then you're going to go over here and register an HSM slot. And if you remember, we can go back to this real fast. Go back into lunacm just so you can see the physical slot number. As you can see, the HSM partition slot ID is 3. The label is Joe MSCA. So if we go over here, you can actually see the available slots. It actually pulled in that available slot, so we want to verify that. Then you're going to actually register that slot. So you're going to click Register Slot. It's going to fully populate that with the physical partition for that registered slot. So we'll go ahead and just close out of that since we know that's all been done successfully. Here's what I want to show you. So I'm physically connected. Now I have to log into the partition, right? So for me to actually, see the crypto, to perform any crypto operations, to see key material, to augment key material, you got to log in as the crypto officer. So let me log in as a crypto officer real fast so you can kind of see a couple other things. The first step we're going to do is we're going to set the slot ID. Since we're on slot 3, we want to physically set that slot ID. So set it to 3. Okay, so the slot has been set to 3. And now, as I mentioned, to do any kind of crypto operations, there's what's called a crypto officer. So I'm going to log in as a physical crypto officer. And it's going to ask me for certain credentials for that crypto officer. I'm going to enter those credentials. Okay, perfect. Successfully entered my credentials. Now I want to do a partition contents listing. So I want to actually list the key material. I've generated keys already on this partition for certain demos and so forth. So let's just see what's out there. Let's see how many objects we actually have right now. So do a parcon. There's a lot of public-private key pairs on this partition. Okay, let's pay attention to this number right here. So how many objects do I have? I have 18 right now. So let's just make a note. I have 18 objects. Okay, cool. Let's shrink that down. Let's shrink this down. Let's go over here. Go to Administrative Tools on your Certificate Authority. Let's double click on Certificate Authority. And let me do a Properties. As you can see with the KSP, the provider that we selected is the SafeNet key storage provider. Obviously, if this was local, if you weren't using an HSM, your key storage provider would be your local Microsoft provider. But we're using the HSM itself, which is named SafeNet Key Storage Provider. So we know we have the proper provider selected. So let's just go ahead and exit out of this. All right. If you remember, we had a total of 18 objects. We physically know we've made a connection to the HSM service. The KSP has been registered with the correct slot, so we're good there. So by registering with the KSP the correct slot, we're telling the certificate authority you're physically bound to this slot when you generate key material for certificates. So let's just go ahead and right-click on this. All tasks. Let's go ahead and renew the CA certificate. It's just going to kind of give me a message here. Active Directory Certificate Services cannot be running during this operation. Do you want to stop Active Directory Certificate Services now? Of course. Yes. Do you want to generate a new public and private key pair? Yes, we do. The whole idea behind this demo is to show you when I generate this new public-private key pair, it is going to be generated in the HSM boundary, and you're going to see new objects within the HSM. So let's say OK. It's not responding. It's in the process of restarting. So the CA, we just got to give it a couple seconds here. Awesome. We're up and running. So if we have a new public-private key pair here, what should we have? We should now have 20 objects. So also, if we scroll up, just go up here. So it looks like the last label was 8. That's the highest number. Just to validate. Yep, 8 was the highest labeled number. So when I enter this parcon command again, not only are we going to see 20 objects because we'll have a new public-private key pair within the HSM boundary, we're also we can validate that through the label number, right? If you look at the last label that was created, it has a label of 8 because we have so many public-private key pairs here. So you'll see a 9. So let's do a parcon. So as you can see, it's listing it out. Perfect. Exactly what we want to see. You can see the new object count is 20. That tells us our new public-private key pair has been generated in the HSM boundary. And if we scroll up, there we go. Label number 9. So that is a new private public key pair that we just generated for the certificate authority within the hardware boundary of the HSM. Pretty cool. So guys, just wanted to show you how easy this was. If you can see, this video is very short. All I did was go create a service in our data protection on demand service. Once I created that service tile, I created a client. It created me a zip file. I went to my Microsoft server, opened that zip file. It installed the software. I fired up the KSP. I entered the DLL library path of the KSP. I registered the slot of the HSM and literally went and generated key material for certificate authority. It's pretty simple, right? Whether you're doing data protection on demand, you want a cloud HSM service, or on-prem, the integration is very similar. The idea behind this video is to show you the ease of use and how fast you can do this with our on-demand service. If there's any other things in regards to HSM, other use cases, it doesn't have to just be Microsoft. Like I said, Oracle, CyberArk, and the list goes on and on. We have so many different use cases, over 300 integrations with our HSM on-demand service. Feel free to reach out to me, Joseph Romero, sales engineer out of Southern California. I'd be happy to chat with you about this specific integration or any other integration that may be of interest to you. So guys, happy times out there. Hopefully everybody's staying safe, and hopefully we can sync up and do some more demos together. Thanks guys. Talk to you later. Bye.